Well, welcome to season 2 of Mental Health Mondays with The Refuge. And I am Kathy Escobar, and I'm here with my friend Joe Rainey from The Refuge. And we have been hosting Mental Health Mondays since the beginning of COVID. And we're so excited today to have our friend Angie Fadel with us to kick off season 2. And Angie lives in Portland, and we have been connected for 14 years now. And she is a sister and friend and advocate to the Refuge all these years and comes frequently. I mean, it's been a big piece of our rhythm in our community to have her come to strengthen and sustain us. She's a spiritual director. She has a master's from George Fox Seminary and is a spiritual director, a person of presence, an activist, an advocate, a mom, a friend. And the reason why we asked her to come kick off this next season is that we are shifting. It'll be the same, but we're just expanding a little bit. Season 1 was only therapists. And this season is going to be centered on a mix of therapists, spiritual directors, mental health sustainers, because that's what we need right now. We need people to help us last through this global pandemic and tectonic plate shift that we're all in. And we're in a big trauma together. And good is emerging all over the place, no question. But it's hard. And it's brutal. And so Angie is a perfect voice for that. So we're really glad that she's here just to help strengthen and sustain us just a little bit for this week to help us keep going.
Yeah, Raina wanted to get involved in that conversation. I loved it. Kathy has the best dog. So yeah, we're super excited to kick off season 2. Sad that we have to have a season 2 and that it's lasting this long, but really happy that we get to have Angie here. And just a reminder that we have discussion questions below the YouTube video in the description box or on the different podcasts. There's in the episode notes, there's also discussion questions. So encourage you to engage with the content in a practical way, either journaling or talking through the questions with a friend. So yeah, take it away, friend.
Yay. I'm glad I'm not the only one with barky dogs because that is probably going to happen. Yeah. How do I start? I think I want to start by saying that it is impossible to be completely emotionally level in this time. And if that's what you're setting up to do, you're setting yourself up for failure. I think holding a space for yourself that holds all of the components of, really, we're in 2 pandemics, and this doesn't come from me. We are in the pandemic of a global virus, and we're in the pandemic of Black, brown, and indigenous queer folks fighting for their lives for the last 400 years. So it takes its toll. And I think one of the things that I keep coming back to, and it's good that my daughter is here. My daughter's 18, so we've been going through all of these milestones that she doesn't get to do in public. You know, she turned 18 and had her birthday party with her parents, and she graduated, and it was very strange. And we did a drive-up party for her this last Friday, and it was strange, you know, because we are in Portland, we're in almost 100 days of this. So the reason why it's been really important for me to have my daughter around is the reminder that, because she'll come to me and she'll go, I feel so tired. Why do I feel so tired? I don't know why I feel so tired. And I said, because humans are not used to holding anxiety and stress constantly without any reprieve or known reprieve coming in the future for as long as we're having to hold it. And so for me, it's been good to have this person that I can remind, which is then reminding myself, because it is also good for me to go, hey, The standards that you're holding yourself to are impossible to hold yourself to. And what I've said from the beginning of this to myself and to my clients is the things that worked before, while they are good, may not necessarily work now. And what I mean by that is as a survivor, I have a lot of tools that I constantly am kind of shuffling through. Oh, okay, I'm going to meditate every morning. Okay, lead meditation isn't working. Now I'm going to do silence and solitude, or that's not working. I'm going to do movement. Okay, I'm going to walk. I'm going to do yoga. Or sometimes I'm doing multiple of these a week. But when the pandemic started, I was using, sometimes during the day, I was using meditation in the morning. I was doing a meditative walk with my dogs. I was pretty much throwing it all, throwing all of it at it. And it still, in my mind, I thought it's not working, but it actually was working. The tools just aren't working like necessarily like what we're used to them working like, if that makes sense. So what I mean by that is, maybe when your life is like this, and you have some dips that are really hard, and then you have some rises that are pretty hard, but for the most part, it's like, okay, the things that you normally do, the tools in your toolbox, if you will, or what I like to say, the things that I keep in my back pocket, sometimes literally, the little cards that remind me, those things work, and they work like they're supposed to work when we're like this. When we are having a constant barrage of stress and anxiety, and if you're showing up to protests, that elevates it. If you're a person of color, if you're trans, if you're queer, that's going to elevate it, because you've had to constantly do that already, but now even more so the attention is like focused. So all of the ways that these things are, maybe exposing a nerve is a good way to say it. Your nerve is being exposed. Maybe in a normal world, we can kind of use these things to cover up our exposed nerve, to kind of keep it safe. Like I've heard from friends in the activist community that, there's things that they do. There's really good self tools that they do as soon as they get home to kind of de-stress what they did. Those things, I guess a long way, I'm kind of rambling, but those things still are working. They're just not working like we're used to. So if our standard is, why is it not working? And if you're like me and you sometimes go to, why am I failing? Why am I failing at meditating? Why am I failing at being calm? Then it keeps that cycle on a high rev. But if we remind ourselves, hey, these tools are working, we're just under a lot more stress than we're used to, we can kind of, for lack of a better word, step back and be more gracious to ourselves. At least that's the hope. I mean, that's what the hope I have when I'm saying this to my daughter and then trying to apply it to myself. I mean, some days I wake up in the morning and I can't meditate. And then later on, I'll take a walk and I'll feel a little bit better. It's just, I think what it is we're having to really listen to our bodies and our spirits and maybe our souls, mind, body, spirit, on a more second by second level, which maybe we're not used to. I mean, I don't want to stay that connected all the time, because that can be also exhausting. So there is permission to check out. There's permission to, binge watch RuPaul's Drag Race if that's going to give you a lift in your spirit. I don't recommend binge watching news or shows that are distressing, but Schitt's Creek is really good, so you can binge watch that. So all of these things that are pressing in against us or at us or on us are real, tangible things. one of the things that I want to switch gears and kind of talk about that has worked for me consistently is mantras. And a mantra is a connection to yourself. I'm not going to get the definition right, but the way that I interpret it is it's almost like a crystallized moment in time. So let's say I'm having body things. I'm feeling weak, or I'm feeling disconnected in my body, or a body is a really good scapegoat for us to attack, because then we get distracted by body stuff, and then we aren't focusing on maybe what's under body, which is just, I feel like a vulnerable child. So I have a mantra that I created for myself that is, I am in my body, I'm of my body, I'm with my body. It's really simple. And it's started because I was walking in the woods. This is before all of this happened. It's a couple years ago. And the rhythm of my feet moving on the ground was like, oh, I'm in my body, I'm of my body, I'm with my body. Am I in that moment? Not necessarily, but the mantra brings me back to where I want to be. It's almost like we're speaking truth to ourselves that we maybe don't believe in the moment, or we don't quite yet believe. And the thing that I love about mantras is I have, in my back pocket at any time, I have probably 3 or 4 that are really meaningful to me that I created for myself because I need them. Not because I just think it's cool or whatever. I actually need that reminder to be in my body. So often when I'm needing that, it'll come to my mind because I've repeated it so many times that it comes to my mind. The other one is, I am enough, I am enough, I am more than enough. Because for me, that is a reoccurring theme in my life from childhood, is I am not enough and I'm never going to be enough. So the mantra again is speaking into existence what is true about myself and what I want to believe more often than not believing. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to lead you through a tiny little mantra making meditation or mindfulness piece. Because if you want, you could get on my Instagram and there are a lot of mantras you could choose from. But I think what is more meaningful, or what could be more meaningful to you, if you can withhold judgment in this moment, is to create one for yourself. And there are no rules. What I recommend is it's not longer than 3 words, because you want a mantra that you can remember. And when you get like 5 or 6 words, it gets harder and harder to remember that on repeat. And that you let it be what it is. I did this recently, and I was like, oh, that just seems way too simple. And it doesn't matter, because probably the more simple, the easier to remember. And simple or not, it was the truth. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit in silence for a minute, and I'm going to lead you in like a grounding. And all that means is I want you to kind of center and relax into yourself. And then I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think about that question. And out of that question, in the stillness, it's first thought, best thought. Now, that said, if the thought is negative, that's not a mantra. That's another kind of mantra that we don't need. So it should be something positive, or something that's like, I want more of this in my life. So for me, when I did this recently, it was 1 word, and it's something that I had really been working on. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So every time I can add words to it, but the word is my focal point. So I want you to get into a comfortable position, whatever that is for you. If you're laying on your bed, that's fine. Take some deep breaths. In through your nose and out through your mouth. I know it can be hard to be in your body, but just relax your shoulders as you breathe in and you breathe out. Relax any tension that's in your skull, in your facial muscles, in your jaw. Relax your neck if you want to move around a little bit to make that relax. And as you breathe, I want you to think about the center of your body, using that as like an image of who you are, where you're at, kind of where you want to go when you need to ground into some peace. So kind of envision the center of your body. And bring some stillness. In this moment, I want you to think about a place that is safe for you. It can be a symbolic place like the beach or a mountain, or it can be an actual place that is safe for you. For me, there is a river spot that I go to year round. And when I go there, I even try to get in the water in the middle of winter. And there is something that is safe and connected there for me. So try to hold that spot that brings so much peace and safety to you in the center of your actual physical being and emotional being. And as you hold that space, that safe space for you, what is it about that space? What is it that feeds you? What is it that connects you? And out of that, draw your mantra. And once you have it, either a word or a few words, say it in your mind at least 3 or 4 times. And that's it. So for me, I went inside myself and kind of, because I've been to that river spot so much and it's a holy spot for me. I could see it. I could see it in my mind's eye. And the first words I heard were, "You're enough here." And I was like, that's the mantra I just said. And then I was like, well, what else could it be? And I stopped myself because it is what it needs to be. Right now, for me, I need to know that I am enough here. I am enough here in this world that we're living in, where it is constantly reminding me that I am not enough. That no matter what I do, no matter what I'm throwing at each of these pandemics, it isn't going to be enough. But I am enough here. So whatever your mantra was, the reason that this is such a good practice, and you can do it as many times as you need to get enough in your back pocket to use for any occasion. And when this is all over, you'll still use them. Is you can do two things. You can go to that safe space, because it was a reminder to re-engage in safe space. And I recommend not going to that safe space when you are actually not in a safe space, to get out of whatever situation you are in that isn't safe for you emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever it is, to the best of your ability. And if you cannot get out of the unsafe space you're in, protect that little core inside of yourself by returning to it. And in your mind, I am enough here. I am enough here. I am enough here. And there isn't a limit to how much you can say it. I mean, most of these mantras that I've written for myself, I thought I'd use them one time. And some of them I have. They've been more, I've been trying to make a connection to things that clients have said, to give them something that they can hold on to. And I thought I'd use them too. But so many of them have really pulled me out of a dark place, because I need some kind of root, some kind of touchstone, some kind of thing that I can go back to and go, okay, I remember who I am here. So that's what I want to leave you with. Maybe for you, you're like, well, what's that going to do? What's that going to do in the world? Well, here's what it's going to do in the world. It's going to center you down so that you can be kind to yourself. And when we can be kind to ourselves, it means we are less likely to lash out at other people. Because frankly, the world doesn't need more of that garbage. And you're not going to be able to do it all the time. But the beautiful thing about this is when you return to it, it is also a really good lens to go, you know what? I need to go back and own the shit that I did and say sorry for it. Because it's that crystallized moment to go, that was not them, that was me. That was the fear and the pain. It's all that stuff that we're not letting out under the surface that caused me to respond that way. We want to be people that can be reflective and own the things that we do, because when we can be that in the world, that is enough. Because that changes the, it's almost like there's, I don't know the sciencey word, but there are things that we cannot see. And it alters those things that we cannot see, vibrations. Sounded very new age here. Vibrations, and it changes things because it is counterintuitive, because our thing is protect myself. And then we say, actually, I'm going to be reflective and engage. So I hope that you can take that nugget and reconnect to yourself and engage, because when you're protecting yourself in a reflective and open way, you are not shielding yourself from the things in the world that you don't need to shield yourself from. What I always leave my clients with and my children with is, remember who you are, not the thing that somebody told you you were, but the real, again, that center core of who you are. Remember who you are. You are worth knowing. You are worth loving. You are worth being in this world. That's a mantra. Thanks.
Thanks, Angie. That's really good. I like the just like holding on to whatever comes up, because my mantra is super nerdy, and I was like, really? That's the like.
What is your mantra?
Is the life defies entropy. And
Ooh.
so, which actually is just what I needed, because I've been like super, which really scientifically is arguable, but like I've been just really discouraged the last couple of days, and just with everything, and just for me, like pulling back or zooming out to the big picture and the big story, that like entropy is like everything is moving towards chaos and disorder and towards, but you see life again and again, like coming back, and spring always comes, and resurrection, and that even though everything's like entropy, like life is defying that every single day. And so that's, yeah, it was just funny because I was like, this is so nerdy, but then I like thought about it and I was like, actually this is really what I need, is like that reminder of the big story and to zoom out. So thanks.
I want to say one thing about that because I think it's really beautiful. I went on a walk yesterday to collect St. John's wort, and I went to this place I always go. Yeah. And there were all these thistles getting ready to bloom, which I've never seen in that state. And I'll send you a picture so you can see it. It's like a trail through thistles that are probably 5 foot high, but not in bloom yet. And so I'm looking at them and I'm going, wow, they look so sci-fi and weird. But as I look closer, I notice in where the leaves come in on a thistle, they have like a cup on either side, and that cup collects water. Who knows what the water is doing? I don't know, but it makes my mind go, okay, what is that feeding? And then I look closer and there's tiny little baby frogs all over the leaves in every color. And I'm looking at it like, there's a circle of life here that I'm only beginning to tap into. Something is going on that I don't know, and it's like what you're talking about. It's that circle of life continues, and when we can spot it, something magical happens because it centered us down again. So I just wanted to share the frog story.
That's cool.
I'll send you a picture because they're so
Oh, I love it. And the parts that I really resonate with is I had the same thing. Like I came back to one that has been a really powerful one for me in this season of grief and the pandemic and just real life. And it's just be a tree. Just be a tree. Tree has big imagery. And I was like, no, not right now. There's got to be a different one, and it sounds like we all kind of did that. And so for everyone listening, I would just say, listen, because when I took a deep breath and pondered some other words that came to my mind, it's like I came back to that simple one that was there. And so that's sometimes really hard to do. Yeah. And it's a metaphor because we want to try and find something, instead of just listening to the deeper thing. And so as we do this hard work, as we advocate and protest and rest and do our day-to-day and try and find our way through this really disruptive time that is I do think in different ways will bring healing that will be surprising. We need to last. And so if you need to write a different mantra every day, that's the point. And a good place to kind of find Angie's stuff, there's a whole bunch on Soul Care with Angie Fadel. We'll post the link on the descriptor so that you have it. And be creative, listen, and most of all, let's just keep doing what we can to last. So thanks for listening. Angie, thanks for being with us. And Joe, it's good to be back together again. We had a few weeks off and we're glad to be back in this rhythm. And let's just keep on keeping on.
Thanks, friends.
Thank you. Bye.